Farg'ona davlat universiteti talabalari va magistrantlari diqqatiga. Ilm yo'lini tanlagan aziz yoshlar, endilikda siz yillik o'quv rejasida belgilangan dars mashg'ulotlari va mavzularni nafaqat oliy ta'lim muassasasiga kelgan holda, balki maxsus platformaga joylanuvchi video darslar orqali ham o'zlashtirishingiz, bilimlaringizni mustahkamlashingiz mumkin. Bu borada biz sizga yaqindan ko'mak beramiz. Ya'ni oliygoh professor o'qituvchilar tomonidan olib borilgan dars jarayonlari tasvirga olingan holda taqdim etiladi. Biz sizning mukammal va sifatli ta'lim olishingiz tarafdorimiz. Siz istagan paytingiz va joyingizda ushbu darslarni tomosha qilishingiz va mavzularni mukammal tarzda o'zlashtirishingiz mumkin. Farg'ona davlat universiteti rahbariyati talabalar uchun qulay va mukammal ta'lim sharoitlarini yaratib berishga hamisha tayyor.
Good part of the day, dear listeners. My name is ABBASOVA Nargiza ABBASOVA. I am a senior teacher of Fergana State University English Language Department. Today we are going to talk about technologies of teaching foreign languages. So why technologies? Because nowadays, we have to pay attention to the teaching methods and they use appropriate technologies during conducting lesson. So let's pay attention to this question. What is teaching technology? Teaching technology is the combination of methods and techniques that help process and give information appropriately, targetedly to the aim and objective of your lesson. This is the science of how teachers influence students in learning process using the necessary technical or informational means. So we as a teachers should know how to motivate learners. We have to know what kind of motivation, what kind of activities and technologies will be useful in order to develop their language skills. In our lecture, we are going to discuss this interesting pedagogical technology that was developed within the years. Developing critical thinking through reading and writing. Technology developers are American Charles Temple, Kurt Meredith, Ginny Steele, Donna Ogle, David Cluster. By critical thinking skills, we are able to develop learners' ability to learn critically and then defend it with logical arguments. Students are able to critically comprehend the given information and then react appropriately, targetedly to the aim of our lesson. So what is critical thinking? This is the ability to analyze information from the point of view of a logic, the ability to raise new questions, develop various arguments, make independent, thoughtful decisions. So the purpose of developing critical thinking skills through reading and writing technology is to ensure the development of critical thinking through the active or interactive participation of students in educational process. So we should know how we can organize our classroom. Nowadays we pay attention to the development of communicative competence of our language learners. For this, we try to organize different kind of interactive activities. So modes of interaction can be pair, group work, whole class discussion. These kind of interactive activities undoubtedly will help learners to learn English better and effectively. So the technology structure consists of three phases: call, comprehension, and reflection. All these stages are motivational task is to develop students' understanding of the importance of learning language. And especially during lesson, we in different stage of the lesson, whether it is in pre, during or while, we have to know how to integrate all these skills and use appropriate methods and technology in order to develop the ability to critically evaluate and understand the given information. So, call stage. The value of this call phase consists in updating the existing knowledge on the topic, informing the motivation to study a specific purpose. So what is that? So normally in pre-stage we organize different kind of brainstorming activities. So these activities of course will help learners to attract learners' attention to the lesson, to the topic. This kind of motivational warm-up activities can be included with our technologies that we are going to discuss in our lecture. So in comprehension stage, we just try to try to comprehend new information. So new information of course will be associated with the knowledge activated in this call phase. So students will be able to link the previous background information about the topic with the new one. So in the reflection stage, this is consolidation stage, and students will be able to consolidate new topic and attempt to express new ideas and information in their own work. So post-practice activities normally can be different kind of authentic tasks like role-playing, creating different kind of mind mappings, or other interactive consolidation activities that will help learners to comprehend the already learned information. So let's look through the technology or methods of mind map. So Tony Buzan was the author of this mind map. So what is that? This is the method of memorization, creativity, and organization of thinking. So with the help of this mind mapping, we are able to attract learners' attention to the lesson. This kind of method will of course help learners to use different kind of graphical organizers in order to present their information. So mind map has properties: demonstrativeness, attractiveness, memorability. So this is creative approach and possibility of revision. So let's look through the information how we can create mind mapping. So we have to take a sheet of paper. As a teacher, you have to distribute sheet of paper to your students and colorful pencils. Students have to work in groups or in teams. So you have to relate this mind mapping activity to the theme that you introduce. In the center of the mind mapping, you have to draw the item. So here is an example of our mind map that was done by our students. So the topic of the lesson was family and family values. So the task was to consolidate the topics that they learned during the lesson. So students work in groups and they gave contribution in order to create this mind map. So this is communicative technology help learners to react to this topic. So at the center of this mind map, they draw the picture how they associate family. Of course, here they use the house. From the center, they use different kind of branches, and even colors can give different kind of attitudes in order to represent these branches. So this brown color, this brown branch represent the firm, stable family. So after it, they try to describe their family members. So they give association to their parents. Father, they associate with sun, and mother with moon. So while presenting their mind maps, students are able to give their point of view related to their background information and their own experience. So while demonstrating their mind maps, they are able to explain their attitudes towards this object. And using these colorful graphical organizers undoubtedly will help learners critically evaluate what they have learned. So let's move to another technology, SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis was first introduced in Harvard in 1963 at a conference on business policy issues by Professor Kenneth Andrew. So what is SWOT? SWOT is a technique of strategic planning, which consists in identifying the factors of internal and external factor of a particular object. It can be a kind of organization or group of people. These SWOT categories are subdivided into two categories: strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threats. So with the help of this technology, students are able to identify advantages and disadvantages of particular object. So again, they will be able to give their point of view, what kind of problematical issues they may face, particular object may face in the future if they will not be able to solve problems. For example, here is SWOT done by our students. The task was to go and observe some schools in order to analyze advantages and disadvantages of this organization. So this SWOT analysis was done to school number 2 in Fergana State, in Fergana City. So strengths. This is the information about the advantage sides of the of school number 2. After observing and interviewing administration and observing school system at school, students came to conclusion that there are experienced teachers with a long record of work, advantageous location of the school, a large number of school-age children live in this area, good and diverse reputation of this school, and students of this school are often get scores, high scores in Olympiads. And what is more, many students succeeded to enter the university. So this is due to the analysis of our students after observation and after surveying in school number 2. And opportunity. Another factor is that after observing and analyzing, they can come to one conclusion that other general education schools also work in this area. However, due to the high level of education in this school, it can be expected that parents will prefer to send their children to this particular school. You see, with this example, we can easily identify that they have, our students who did this SWOT analysis, they came to one conclusion, that achievements of this school, of course, will lead to positive sides, and parents, of course, will send their children right to this school. And they can describe this kind of information together, they can work together, they can collaborate, they can interview, observe different kind of classes in order to get these results. So with this SWOT analysis, our students will be able to write reports or give particular information, for example, while publishing a kind of newspaper to our school and others. So I think this is really interesting technology that can be used in our teaching methodology. So let's look to another technology. Maybe some of you are familiar with this technology. This is insert technique. It was developed by the American scientist Vaughan East in 1986, but later in 1997 it was supplemented by the founders of developing critical thinking skills through reading and writing, Temple, Meredith and Donna Steele. So what is insert? This is the ability to critically comprehend new information and to find links with what has already been learned through working with the text. So let's look through the information related to this insert technology. So as you can see, this is interactive noting system for effective reading and thinking. How we can organize it? So there are special symbols that you can use in order to use this insert technology. So in the process of reading, students mark text with icons. So tick mark, this is the information you already know. Minus sign, it marks what goes against your ideas, what contradicts to what you know. Plus sign, this is the mark, the new information, something interesting you would like to know. Exclamation mark, it notes what aroused interest and desire to learn more about it. For example, I want to learn more about particular things. And the question sign, it marks something that remains unclear and requires additional study. So with this question, you can approach to the teacher or some expert who will help you in the future to find out the answer to the question. So here is the insert technique done by our students, and as you can see, here there is insert to the Pushkin, the fountain of Bakhchisarai. You can see that they put this mark, what is familiar to them, what students already know. So in which stage we can use this insert technology? At the beginning of the lesson, in pre-stage, in order to attract learners' attention, you may ask them to fill the first column. So ask them what they know about particular problem or story or novel or some kind of information, whether it is grammatical information. So it depends on the topic that you are going to discuss. So in first one, you can easily understand whether they are able to know or explain something. After filling this part, you may give them some kind of question, just brainstorming questions, and elicit random answer. And in the next stage, during stage, while reading this unknown text, your students have to fill in this form in order to use in different kind of activities. For example, jigsaw reading, that will be really interesting activity, and you can use this insert technique in jigsaw reading task. So if you divide your students into several groups, distribute handouts with text, and students will be able to read and discuss in the group while filling this insert technique. And this insert diagram will help them to memorize the information. So another interesting technology, this is KWL method. We can recognize it, and I hope that you know and use and you will use this technology. It means know, want to learn, and learn. So this method was developed by a professor from Chicago, Donna Ogle. So this is also the graphical form of reception, reflects the three phases by which the process in the technology of developing critical thinking skills is built. Again, three phases can be observed here: call, comprehension, and reflection. So using this method, again, you will be able to attract learners' attention to the lesson and recognize their level in particular topic, in order to recognize their background knowledge according this topic. So as you can see, if you want to give your students some information about the biography of Ernest Hemingway, so you may ask your students to fill in the first part, what you know about Ernest Hemingway, and ask them to fill this form and give them 1 minute to do it. After completing, you may again elicit random answer. And then you can ask your students, it's a kind of needs analysis in order to recognize their level in particular topic and what do they want to know. So, and at the end of the course or at the end of the semester, you may ask students to fill the last part. So, what they had known, what they learned through this period of time. So, students will be able to see the progress, what they learned before, what they wanted to know, and at the end, what they learned. So students themselves will be able to recognize their language learning process. So this is, I think, really interesting technology that can be used during your language teaching. Now we'll focus our attention to this technology. I do appreciate this technology because nowadays we have to pay attention how to motivate learners to read a lot. Normally our students don't want to read in English, but with the help of these technologies you will help them not only to read but organize different kind of discussions based on particular reading passage or video materials. So you may not ask your students read and translate the text or read and retell the text, but you may organize different kind of discussion. You may ask your students, for example, read at home some part of novel, for example, 3 Men in a Boat, and then after coming back or at home they can feel this map of the story. So this is a type of modern approach to language teaching, just flipped classroom. We can refer to it blended learning. When you give to your students home task to read the novel and coming back during the lesson, students will be able to work in groups and fill in this map of the story because they will be ready to the lesson. Somehow they are familiar with the novel. You don't waste time for reading and translating. You will organize different kind of discussion, interactive activities. So students will be able to open the set of the story, find out main characters, then distinguish problem, and then provide this information in the scenes, different kind of scenes. And what is more, this is a kind of critical reflection, yeah? They will be able to give solution, their own solution to this problem. And again, at the end, you can Ask your students to find the moral to this novel. So again, this kind of technology will help you to involve learners' attention to the language learning process, develop their reading skills, writing skills, critical thinking skills. While communicating in group, they will be able to communicate and give their own point of view and fill in this map of the story. So I really like this technology and I use it. I hope you will be able to use this technology in your language teaching. So another interesting technique, especially for developing again reading, writing and critical thinking skills of the learners, this is press formula. So this technique was created by Professor of Law David McCoy Mason from South Africa. So this press formula, it means position, reason, explanation or example or summary. So the value of this technique is that it allows students to briefly express their own position on the topic studied. It can be used when writing an essay, when organizing debates or discussion. So with this press formula, your students will be able follow coherence and cohesion both in writing and speaking. So you can easily see in this table that position, it is what is your point of view about particular hero or object that you are discussing. So you may start with these phrases. I think that, I suppose, in my opinion. So with this formula, your students will be able clearly express their point of view on particular issue or problem related some reading passage or some video materials. So reason. What are you justifying? Argument in support of your position. So again, you may use these linking words because, since, and explanation or example, just facts illustrating your argument. For example, for instance, and in order to summarize all this point of view, you will be able to give your own conclusion. Therefore, in this way, so let's look through the example that was done by our students. For independent work, I gave my students, first year students, to read a novel written by Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. That was a kind of independent work. So this is the press formula. This is really interesting. You know, here they put a kind of interesting question. Was Elizabeth right that refused the proposal of Mr. Collins? You know, students are able to critically evaluate and react to some kind of situation in the novel, and they are able to give their own point of view with their own examples. For example, they gave interesting example. Her position, it was written by our girl's position. I think that young lady was right in her decision not to marry to whom she doesn't love. Reason. Such kind of marriage would cause many other problems in her life. First of all, living with a man whom you don't love is equal to suicide. Secondly, not all money can bring happiness to the family. To my mind, you should have mutual understanding and moral support from the partner. And here she provides some kind of example. For example, before getting married, I tried to understand my partner's character during a year. It took me such a long time in order to be sure that I was right in my decision, whether he had feelings toward me. And I'm happy and don't regret. So you can see she gave example from her own life. And even she gave another opposite point of view, I may give another example of my friend's life. Her attitude towards marriage was different. She preferred prosperity and wealth to strong feelings, and now she is unhappy. So you can see that reaction is really interesting. And what is more, students can read, understand what they are reading, and then give their own point of view. This is a kind of reaction, and logically and coherently explain what they learned, their point of view. And in a summary, you can see that they are able to use linking words and phrases. Therefore, everyone should have love match in order to create firm family. As you can see, methods and technologies are very necessary while conducting our lesson. In order to have effective lesson, you should follow all these strategies. You should know how to use all these strategies, methods and technologies during language teaching. So there are a lot of technologies and methods, and in the future we'll continue talking about them. But now I want to conclude my speech with this proverb. Tell me, I'll forget. Show me, I'll remember. Involve me, I understand or learn. So what I want to say, if you just will tell the information, your students can easily forget the information. They will have here and forget it. But if you will show them the information with slides, videos and books, they will somehow memorize this information. But if you involve your students into language learning process, they will keep them in their mind. So I hope you will be able to really proficient teacher who will be able to know how to conduct lesson appropriately and motivate learners to learn language perfectly. Thank you for your attention. See you soon.